Thomas Lee coming to you live at Real Talk. I got brother Frank Kelly here. We're going to talk about some community leadership in the community and how we can, make things better for our community. You can briefly introduce yourself, brother.
Yeah, well, my name is Frank Kelly. I'm as well as a community activist. I run an organization, No Drugs in America, which is a nonprofit organization here in the High Desert. It was formed back in 2000, year 2000, and our whole focus is what we've been doing with the problem in drug prevention and trying to stop illegal drug use before it starts with our kids, preschool through high school. And it's been a hard road to hoe here, all right? And I guess this is a great topic to talk about because a lot of the things that what we try to do is that we need that community leadership from the top to come down and lead us. Right. And a lot of times they won't lead us. And this is something that we have to look at from a genuine standpoint of saying, okay, what's wrong with that system?
Yeah, and I think that's very important, for, a lot of times we have the idea of a leader, which in actuality we should all be leaders, and especially if you're a parent, right. And just having the idea of that I am a leader, there's a certain responsibility that comes with that. And a lot of times our thoughts of ourselves create our own reality. And so if we thought of ourselves as leaders, we would, have a certain field of responsibility that we need to, have, especially when it comes to our kids and community.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons, when you invited me to come, I said, okay, I'm going. I said, because I want to see from a standpoint of where can we all meet? Where can we all come together as we call ourselves leaders, visionaries, dreamers, or, in a sense, to make our community better. But a lot of times, when there's a call for action, the problem of having that call out is how many people answer.
And I think one of the things as far as an issue that we need to deal with in our community is classism. Because when we deal with our community and we deal with each other as a collective, there shouldn't be no class. We should see each other as family and striving to create a better reality for the collective and not just for a certain group.
Well, Charles, I think when it comes to that classism, it's something that's been embedded in us as people. Because when we go back into us as black people, okay, just speaking of that relationship, you go back into, we were set up on a class system. The movie that Spike Lee did years ago, brought it really to the forefront. Light-skinned blacks, dark-skinned blacks, and all that. And we have never, and I think that's been almost 50 years ago when we did that movie, 40, 50 years ago. And we have never gotten away from that segment of skin color from classism. I was just looking at the paper today about Barack Obama. And they were saying that more light-skinned African Americans follow him. And I'm going like, why is that? Because he's a mixed race. But and since he's become president, this whole thing about classism has even gotten worse because now we are chopping it up into colors, skin color. And someone said something to me the other day about racism. Well, there is no racism because there's only one race, race. There is what you're talking about, classism. Well, we put people in classes because of different things. We put them in class because, like I said, skin color. We put them in class because of the money they make.
But to me, when you say, I'm a believer in God and Jesus, and then you say, and they say, I'm not respecting persons, then how can you put a race when he said everybody's a human race? So what we have to look at, to me, the problem is, one of the problems, is that we are running around with a lot of folks running around with masks on. And they got their mask on, and then once they leave you, they take their mask off, and then next you know, then they go somewhere else. And they're wearing these different hats, and when you see, and especially in our community, I see that a lot. You know, where people come and they'll tell you, well, yeah, Brother Kelly, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, Brother Kelly, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that. I don't tell people what I ain't gonna do. You know, when I do it, I'm gonna do it, because there have been people who right now in this community that I have helped. And when I reached out to them after they got what they wanted, what's the problem now? You know, okay, well, you got me everything, you got everything you want from me. And so when I look at, and that was one of the reasons, like I said, when I was thinking about you, when you last night, I've been running into this man, I keep running into this man. What is this man really trying to do? What is he really trying to accomplish in this community? And when I come in, I look at your topic, community leadership, and the first question in that is, what's the problem? The problem is some of our leaders. And those leaders who are not willing to reach out and say, hey, look, let's come together as a group. Hey, look what we got here right now. And I know when I got emailed, I don't know about you, but I probably got 500, 600 people in my email, what I'm looking at, my friends or emails, whatever. That's what I send out. That's a whole lot of people I'm sending out to. So, but then when you look at what's the return, and you say, well, did I get a phone call? Somebody texted me. He said, well, no, I can't make it. Or somebody said they was coming. Just like I was trying to do a fundraiser online. Now I have people online tell me, hey man, I'm sending you some money, right? Well, you know, from a nonprofit standpoint, you know, every dime counts. And then I look up, I go to my PayPal account, ain't nothing there. You don't have to know the point that I'm making. You don't have to lie to me. I don't have to lie to you. If I'm not going to do something, hey Frank, or hey Thomas, we're not going to do it. If I can do it, I said fine, I'll do it. But I think what people hear, I mean, they try to pacify it. Because when I first came here, back in 2000, I was trying to do my nonprofit. You know, I just had doors slam. Those doors were slammed for almost 10 years. Now I had to go through back doors, and then to try to do anything, it takes money. And I think that's one of the that's another problem, is that the people who have been in the so-called leaders that we have now, they have usually put themselves in a position, a financial position, to where they got the money. And since they got the money, you know, you coming at the money.
Well, you know, I think that in identifying with the problem, you know, we have to look at our situation historically. And historically, you know, I mean, we are people who were enslaved, come out of slavery, and, you know, I often say, you know, if you can control a man's mind, you don't have to worry about his actions. But if you look at, you know, historically, you know, our leadership has been handpicked. And the reason why it's been handpicked is so that, you know, a few can control the masses. You know, and the reason why that when you talk about that, you know, certain people have access to certain money is because money has been a tool to control. So, you know, when, you know, it's like, you know, being the president of the High Desert Black Heritage, you know, I try to reach out to different churches. You know, I'm not pointing the finger at any particular church, but a lot of times churches don't want to participate on the same platform. Back in the day, in the sense of the church used to be a pillar of the community that dealt with, you know, problems in the community, where they came out on the forefront and stood hand in hand. But now it's a thing that, you know, I can't speak for anybody, but, you know, church is a business. And so,
Well, you know,
we have to identify things for what things are. And I'm not just, you know, talking about the churches, but I'm talking about leadership, you know what I mean, at the same time.
Okay, well, here. I think I was talking to you off camera earlier. I went to supervisor's office years ago. I said, I need $10,000 to get my program. And, well, Frank, you don't got no track record. You don't do this. Well, how am I getting track record if I get some money, if I can do what I gotta do? And then I look up when a group that did have a track record, but because they were part of the city, okay, they got $400,000. Now they got $400,000. Now I'm in drug prevention to try to teach these kids not to do something or to stop it before it starts. Well, they had their hand in law enforcement, which is suppression. They want, you know, like they really lock you up. All right, I want to teach you something on education. So they give $400,000. So they reached out and said, well, come on, nonprofits. Now that we got $400,000, and we were like, okay, well, we go out there, we sit out there and say, oh, they go like, all right, well, show us the money. All right, you want us to help you, show us the money. You know, give us, you got $400,000, and you give $10,000 here, $20,000, whatever you think that is worth of what we do to be a part of what you are, then we'll get involved in what you're doing. They go, well, we don't have no money. Well, you just got $400,000. But we had to buy more equipment for the police department. But I thought you were getting $400,000 for a program. Because you got supposedly this great program, which the reason that you got me here, because my piece is drug prevention, this person's piece is drug recovery, and this person over here is some type of educational activity or something like that. But you got us all here for our scope of what we do. But then you want to keep all the money.
You know, you're talking, you know, things racing in my head. And one of the things that's racing in my head is that, you know, a lot of times you have to pave your own path. I mean, and I'm not talking about an individual, I'm talking about us as a community, you know, in the sense that it's like we have programs, right? And it's like if you got people who, you know, devote their time to, you know, whether it's educating kids or, you know, doing things, you know, for kids to help them in the future. And we all know that when you're dealing with black male youth, you know, they are criminalized at an early age, and the criminal justice system doesn't deal with them the same way they deal with our counterparts. And so we find ourselves in a peculiar situation where we have to, you know, we can't really rely on other people, we have to rely on ourselves. But when it comes to parenting, I use the term cultural reform, you know, because culture is a system that is used to cultivate people. And when we have been, you know, come here from Africa, we were stripped of our language, we were stripped of our, you know, our whole identity. So it's things within ourselves that we have to rebuild back. You know, we have, you know, examples like when you talk about Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma. You know, we have repeated, you know, situations where we have tried to do things ourselves and be, you know, innovative, creative and other people have come in and you know, so we have to be more strategic in our way of interacting in this society, and we have to be aware. Now, I don't want to use, you know, a lot of people want to shy away from using certain terms because they don't want to be perceived as radicals. But, you know, when you talk about we are 12% of the population of the United States with over 40% of incarceration, you know, there's something wrong with it. You know, when you can deal with a state where we as a people are not the majority, and when I speak about the majority, I'm talking about African Americans, but we make a majority within the criminal justice system. You know, when we dealing with our youth, you know, the labels are quick to be placed on our youth, you know, whether it be, dyslexia, they place me as having dyslexia, and they, you know, put me in special ed classrooms at an early age, and, you know, we have to be aware, and so when we dealing with leadership, you know, our leadership needs to tell the truth of what situation that we are actually in and what we are truly up against. Because if we go on and we are not aware, a lot of us live in a country and we're not even aware of our constitutional rights, let alone, you know what I mean? So we have to be more proactive as a people. And it's like programs. Parents to spend, you know, and telling the truth, parents to spend, you know, $50 to $75 a month on weed or alcohol, but they won't spend this on a program for their children. You know what I mean? So when we look at the issue of our community and the things that we need to do as a people, you know,
and then we'll see that this is what, because, you know, you hit these nails right on the head. Because, you know, I said all the time, you know, I have a program, and I try to, and I'll say, okay, well, they say, okay, well, if you do it free, you know, like, you know, cool. But now, the minute I say, well, you know, there's a fee involved. And when you say there's a fee involved, it's like, ooh. But, you know, when you're talking about a minimum fee, is it worth for your child to have drug and alcohol education or awareness class that could last for 8 weeks and get the understanding of, you know, what the dangers of these substances are? You pay $25 a class, or would you rather that child wind up in jail because you smoke a joint? Now that $25 that you pay for 8 weeks versus that bail you finna pay to get him out of jail, you're looking at a whole lot of difference in money. But when you touched on people in programs, is just that you know, I was just looking at the stats here in our business. In Victorville, there's 115,000. In 115,000 people, there's 47% Caucasian. There's about 40% Spanish, and there's about 10% African American. And when you got only 10%, which is about 20,000 people, versus you got 80,000 other people over here, right? Well, we have set some of the people in the leadership, and their figures, well, you know, I got to deal with this other 80% over here. Yeah. So let me, instead of saying let us all blend in, they want to blend in with them, or they want to blend in with that group, because that group seems to have the power. And here in the high desert, you know, say real talk. You know, we are separated here, especially black folks here. We're separated by class. You know, we're definitely separated by class over here. Even though we all came here because of the moderate prices in housing and all that. But, you know, if you go out in Apple Valley, or you go, you're probably not going to find many over here, except the other Beverly Hills over here in Oak Hills. Yeah. But you're going to find out here in Apple Valley, and there's some nice people, don't get me wrong. But they just figure, okay, well, I got my ass.
So let me be, you know,
I don't want to get involved. I got my ass, you know, I'm not going to rock the boat.
And that has been a kind of like a traditional thing, you know what I mean? If my house is not safe, then your house is not safe, you know?
But the end concept in their mind, right. I'm safe because, you know, I got security guard, I mean, I got ADT. You know, you don't know that ADT ain't going to work because somebody want to deal with your house. And that deal with your house criminally, or deal with your house if all of a sudden, like what happened back in 2008. You know, you got people all of a sudden, they looked around and they thought they were there. You know, 2008 took a lot of folks from there and brought them back down here. Yeah. And now they're going like, okay, you know, we made a lot, it kind of leveled the playing field out again. Everybody looking around going, okay, man, I thought we were there. No, you're not, because now you're trying to scramble, like I said, you're trying to scramble to protect your house like I'm trying to protect mine. Right. And we let games be played so much Because there are programs, there's ways to save houses from that scenario. But we wait until the house is what, in foreclosure?
Yeah. And then, another thing is, when we talk about information, that's where network is very important because, information is shared within other groups of people, but we don't have a tendency of sharing information within our own group. There's a lot of resources out there that, people have been benefiting off of for years, and maybe one or two of us that have it, but they want to hoard the information.
Okay, tell you what it is, about this man had a meeting today. I guess this is my day to meet with some groups. And this group has really been working with me for years. I think they work with you some, the Deltas.
Yeah, I have to give them, they're one of the more proactive groups.
Yeah, they are. And because they're educators.
Yeah.
They're educators. And when you start talking about kids, then you get their ear. And we're working on that, putting together a program, not really a program, a project. And the project we're putting together is I don't know, coming from down the hill, a lot of kids up here don't have coaching all the time. So we're getting together, we're going to see if we can get together and get coached for kids who don't have coaching. So they won't be out there distributing coding all the time. And I want to see how many other organizations, and because each organization can start their own coach line. You see what I'm saying? And we just all come together in the end and bring all those coats in the pile.
Right.
Because we're all doing it for one reason, for these kids, right? But the mentality once again goes back to, like you say, with the house analogy. Well, that's Frank's house, that's Frank and Delta, because we're gonna do it now. And this is the one thing I do find was remarkable. We was doing No Drugs in America. Is every time you go out and present your program to somebody, next thing you know, they're ready to grant for what you do.
Hey, that's definitely so. I have come up with many different, things, and I find other people using the same terminology all the way down to the
Yeah, to the T.
We're gonna take a break real quick because we're gonna add Brother Eli into the conversation.
All right.
You know what I mean? Back here, we got Brother Eli that just joined us on the panel. We're going to talk about problem solution within the topic of community leadership. Me and Brother Frank has said a couple things. Let's hear from you. First, let people know who you are.
I'm Eli West. I'm a member of the High Desert Black Committee, also community activist here in the High Desert. When you talk about some of the solutions for the community getting together, community leaders, one of the main things would be is trying to overcome the task of getting them together. Because it seems like it's harder now to get community leaders to come together without one being in the forefront. It's like everyone has to be the one who's running everything. If we had an event we was trying to do at the fairground, what I wanted to do was, I had to make it for the fairground, but I wanted to get all the choirs together and just have like a choir concert for the choirs here in the High Desert. And the first question I would get was, well, what church is going to be at? Because everybody want to have it at their house. And if you don't have it somewhere on neutral ground, it's like no one want to come together. But it shouldn't be, but they're overlooking the big picture. The big picture is just trying to get our people to come together as one. And that's one of the problems right there. A lot of the news, a lot of things going on in the community is not shared because a lot of us don't even get along ourselves in our own black community. And if we ain't got no unity on the high level, there can't be no unity on the bottom level.
Well, and I'm not trying to interrupt here, but when you said unity and you part of the Black Heritage Committee, I had to go back to the founder because I'm talking about Reverend Ruffin, Bishop Ruffin. Bishop Ruffin always said to everybody here in this High Desert, while he was living and still among us, there is no community unless there's unity. There was this whole focus on the Black Heritage, whole thing is that the unity has to be there for the community to thrive. And when you said that, matter of fact, man, I was close to the guy there. In my head just went, but you're exactly right, because when you have now to kind of just, put that little thing where you're going with it, and put it back in your lap, you have all these different churches. And it seems like there's more every day. But each church, and I think you said earlier, it's about a business. And each church becomes its own entity till it goes down to an old saying I used to do as a salesman years ago, WIIFM, what's in it for me? All right? And if they don't see what's in it for them, ain't nobody going for it. All right? It's not what's in it for the community.
Yeah.
It's what's in it for me, because first of all, you asked me to bring you my resources. You probably asked me to bring some of my dollars. And because the things all spread out so much, I don't know, because when you was talking about the choirs, right? Now, if you don't belong to another church, because when we have, like at our church, we have like a choir event, well, we might get 3 or 4 different choirs to come. But now, when you say I want to have a choir concert event where you're going to have something out there where you're going to have the whole community, not just the Christians, but everybody's welcome. All right? Now it becomes the thing, well, you're not going to make some money. What's our piece? What we going to get out of this? Otherwise, we're not sending our choir with it. Now, if you're in the church, I'll send my choir to them sing for free. But if you're going to do something at, what do you say you're going to do it?
Well, if the fairground.
At the fairground, yeah. So you're going to charge for it.
Well, see, the reason we're charging in is because, see, at a church setting, it'll be free.
Right.
Then I won't have to worry about the charge. But if I do it at the fairground,
You got to
they
pay
got
for
to pay
the
for the fairground to do that.
Right.
And so then,
But they're looking beyond the venue and they're looking at, okay, well, Levi, something is for Levi. Awesome. And this is the thing that, like, where we're at about the solution, that we have to find that common ground. And the common ground has got to be, look, let's just all get together, put on the event, if you want to have it, and especially doing it for we all nonprofits. And then we all take it, like everybody, you look at the end of it, when all the bills are paid, everything's done. They go like, here, this is what's left, split it among each other, and let's do another one.
Yeah, I think that, one of the ways to solve the problems is dealing with the church. Because, most church members are a part of the community, and they will participate in stuff even though that they're church one. And so, if we come together and do positive things in our community, there are going to be people from all the churches that come. And then it's going to be a question, why is our church not participating? And then, because, you have to use strategy and tact, because it's one thing, we are people and we are, trying to work for a good cause, which is to unify our community and to educate our youth, to a point where as they can be successful. I often say that, family is a business in the sense just the same as if you have a business, you want to not only build your business up, but you want to be able to pass it on. So, as far as the family is concerned, you want to be able to build your family up, your family unit up, and pass those traditions on. Where, you have family reunions, the kids grew up knowing each other, you got that extended family, and we need to, right now, we can't really rely on the church to build that model, and because, it's a thing where a lot of people don't want to deal with the church because not all churches, but a lot of churches, people in churches have become judgmental, and you got to deal with people where they at. And if you look at the model that Jesus left himself, Jesus dealt with all different types of people, and he went in, with whether it be the people that
He was no respecter of persons, period.
right. And so, but the churches have gotten away from that,
Right.
you know. But we as a community, you know, if we want our community to be intact as black men, you know, and understanding where we are at as a people, we have to be proactive, because the leaders of our community don't just exist within the church. But
No.
Sometimes you have to look back at the past, right, to get your future intact where it's supposed to be. See, somewhere along the line, we got off track. See, back in the days, the church was the main focus of the black community. When you had a problem, and you go to your church, and your church leaders make sure, as a member of that church, you're a family member, and they're gonna try to help take care of your needs. Nowadays, if something going on in the church, you go to this person here, and they can the message back. But now, like when you hit on the point of being so judgmental, when you have a problem, oh, well, Brother Eli needs help with his light bill. Now, that's a personal problem. And so now, you don't really want to I don't want to let you as a member know what my problem is. Because now the whole church, is ammunition against you. And that's not what it's supposed to be. The church is supposed to be there to build you up, but now has a way of tearing you down.
All right, so the one word we agree on then, the problem is unity.
Unity. It's got to be unity.
There's got to be unity. And one of my suggestions for us as a solution to that is there's got to be a town hall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would think that we, you know, like, I don't know if that goes to what's the plan, but you know, to me, there's got to be, see, this is, you know, like, this is a stepping stone,
Mm-hmm.
this format, but there's got to be a bigger format that this goes into
Mm-hmm.
that says, okay, at 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, we're meeting at some school gymnasium, and we got all that whole community right there and sitting in front of us, with their parents, the kids, and the leaders. We got not only the leaders in our community, but we got other folks, you know, just the community leaders as a whole, not just the black community, but the community leaders as a whole. You got a representative from the city, you got a representative from law enforcement, you got a representative from mental health, you got a representative, you know, from all these different, from business, to see when we sit down and say, because one of the reasons that we don't get, when we as a people don't have the resources that we really need to do what we as a people need to do. And because when we keep it all amongst ourselves, try to do this without reaching across the aisle, we're not gonna get the money, because the few people who have the bucks, they ain't gonna give them up.
Well, you know, I'm gonna say that, you know, people want to be a part of something. You know, the reason why people go to church is because the idea of being a part of something, you know, that is great. You know, and you know, God is the greatest thing that a person can be a part of. But I think that, you know, when you talk about leadership of the community, you know, it's a meeting place that not only the church, but also other organizations have to meet at.
Right.
You know, because everybody's not a Christian, but, you know, that's a part of the black community. So, you know, it's like, I don't believe in homosexuality, but we got black homosexuals in our community.
Right.
So how do we deal with that?
Right.
You know, it's certain institutions that are going to shine other people, you know, whereas if they are the central body of leadership, then they're going to automatically exclude other people. So we need a neutral point within our community.
Well, and you, that's 100% accurate, actually. But when you have people, when you have people who have those prejudices, you know, I don't like you because you're homosexual, or I don't like him because he's white, I don't like him because he's Mexican, you know, and because of that we can't come together, because, you know, I'm sitting there, you know, like if I got a prejudice against you, and it could be something I don't like about the way you walk, or something else, you know, but we have to put our prejudices aside. And the problem is, how do we get to that point to where we get enough people? We're not gonna get everybody.
No.
I think that it's more, excuse me, I think that it's more people, because like when I go to a family function, you got law enforcement, you got criminals, you know, you got everybody, you know, but when we go to the family function, we all family. You got, you know what I'm saying? So when you talk about certain values, you know what I mean, we need to, I think the strongest, you know, values that a community can have is family values.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that, you know, a lot of, you know, ideologies, you know, find themselves trying to trump family values. And we as a community have to go through the hard work of redefining ourselves as a community. Because within our community, you know, you have, you know, the whole spectrum. You have light-skinned, dark-skinned, you got, you know, heterosexual, homosexual, transsexual, you know what I mean? And, you know, the thing is, we have to, if I see you as a stranger, then I'm gonna deal with you as a stranger. But if I see you as a family member, then I'm gonna see you as a family member. And I think that that's where our history as a people is very important. See, one of the things is by the disconnect that we have in our community is because of the disconnect that we have with our own history. If we understand where we come from, you know, then we understand that, you know, very much well that, you know, I might as well identify you as my family because on the plantation there was a lot of, you know what I mean? I mean, being real, you know what I mean? And then, you know, I've seen cases where, you know, you got Crips and Bloods, they're rivals. Right. But when they find out that they family, you know what I mean, they embracing each other, and that idea of being rivals go out the door. You know what I mean? And it's just how we identify with each other, the concepts, you know what I mean, that we have of each other. I think that we need to work on how we view each other. Because if I view, you know, I grew up, you know, if a woman is old enough to be my mama, you know, then that's the type of relationship I have with her. You know, if a gentleman was old enough to be my father, you know what I mean, that's the type of respect that I would have for him. You know, and I think that we have gotten away from those traditional families as community. And I think that that should be the core of our unification.
Yeah, but see, the reason that is because of times. The times too, because, you know, once upon a time, you know, when you had kids, usually the parents were older. Parents usually had a great distance between them and their kids, usually 25, 30 years. Now the kids are more like 18, 15, 17 years apart. They're closer together to where the kids are. And the kids are no longer, in the word you use, respect. The kids are now more into the, well, you know, you just like my homie, me and you homies almost, you know. You got a mother that's 30 years old and a son that's 17. You know, they're kind of close together there. So a lot of that has to do, and the thing that, you know, when you want to talk about family, see, one thing that we because of our bonding in the family, one thing that we always did, me, like I said, coming out of the South, was the male, was the head. And see, we're getting away from the male head. You know, I was raised by a single woman. My mother raised me, and God bless her, all right? But she couldn't take the place of the male, all right? So what has to happen, there has to be, if you want to talk about the family, there has to be that position. And see, we have, in our families, that position is becoming lesser and lesser to where the woman now is taking that position. Who was it said the other day? It said, where are all the real men? All right? And real men don't mean you make all the money. No. You know, there's men out there, there's women out there who got a whole lot better jobs, got a whole lot more education. But now when they come together, you know, as a family, they got to understand, well, there's some, you know, like there's some men who don't make as much money as women. But now you got men who think, well, I don't make as much money as my wife, you know, I can't be no husband. Yes, you can. You know, you ain't got to run away, fool.
A lot of that, though, is like, I have to say, government issue. You know, because back in the day, you have a woman like, okay, you're not doing good with your spouse. Y'all not living too well right now, struggling. So they have government-assisted programs that would help her out.
And put him out.
But in order to help her out and help the kids out, the man had to get out the picture. Now, what that does is, it's like a rolling stone effect.
Yeah, but it goes back to what he just said. You know, that's why you have to roll that stone back to put it in the position that it should be. Because, you know, when you, like I say, it makes no difference, as far as how much money each person is bringing in. See, because what happens, my wife and I have been together for 40 years almost. And everything we got is ours. You know, all that separate this, and you got this, no. When we got married, it became not me, it became we. All right, so, you know, we all have our little things that we got, you know, like Marcus said, oh, you keep a little pocket money around, but, you know, but the biggest part, you know, because when I find out, when I didn't do that, it didn't work. When you start separating, when you come in as a black man and say, well, this is my money, this is your money is my money, and all that. No, this is our money. Now, what you want to do is everybody's entitled to whatever they earn. And you just say, all right, well, you know, honey, I like to play golf, or I like to do this, I like to do this. I got to have my little money to get to do that. But you know, we got to do this over here. And once you find everybody start talking about mine, and see, that's the mentality we are trying to get to, mine. You know, I'm talking Johnny Gill now. Everybody talking about mine. It ain't no our stuff no more. And when you get back to the problem in that community thing, that with the unity is, if you start looking at this community as our problems, then you start finding our solutions. And that's what, and one of the things we got to look at in our solutions is we got to look at getting together. Okay, you say, all right, you got the avenue of media. We got to find a way to get, first of all, to get their heads back where they're supposed to be. The first leadership we got to get together is the men, the black men. All right. Then when we pull the black men back in, then we pull the family back in, because now here comes the woman, here comes the kids, here comes everybody. But until we get him in his role, and I ain't just talking about black men, white men, any men, but mostly black men, because we know, you look at what we've been portrayed as. The first thing we portrayed as thugs, gangsters, thieves, robbers. You know, we're not portrayed as fathers, lovers, and keepers of our family.
It's like, it goes back to that social thing.
Yeah.
You see on TV, you get an image portrayed to you. I had an Asian friend of mine, Tanaka. When I met Tanaka, we talked for a while. Then he said, "You're not like what they portray you to be." And I'm like, look, I said, first of all, you never see me. I never been on TV be portrayed as that. You know, you see some of my people been portrayed as something. You know, everybody is a collective individual. And until we be treated as a collective individual, everybody gonna have different thoughts, everybody gonna have differences. You know, but you got to treat everybody as you want to be treated.
And that comes with, you know, a lot of times, you know, we are portrayed negatively, the black male is portrayed negative in the media. You know, we have to own our image. You know, when you talk about bringing that male up to where he rightfully is supposed to be within the community as far as leadership, you know, we have to, as leaders, black male leaders, you know, we have to mentor our youth. When we see a young gentleman sagging his pants, tell him to pull, not just tell him to pull up his pants, but, you know, let him know that, you know, you're making yourself a target, you know, and communicate with him. You know, a lot of times, you know, we get to the point where, you know, we fearful of our own youth, you know, but we do have to rise that male image up, you know, into what it's supposed to be, you know, and as media outlets, as organizations, you know, we have to constantly reward our community with positive male images, because if we don't.
And that's because, you know, you ever say, he who controls the money controls the destiny, or he who controls the cameras. You know, because he controls the cameras, because, you know, for years, Bill Cosby tried to buy NBC. They wouldn't let it by NBC, because NBC was a major network. Now, yeah, you got Oprah now, we got her own, but, you know, look at the stuff that she's putting on, you know. So, you know, you got, what happens is some folks, and that's what I really admire about Bill Cosby, you know, like, he never went to that side to where he said, well, the money was more important. You know, because, you know, as much as I love looking at Mundia, you know, Mundia don't portray a good image.
Buffoonery.
Yeah, buffoonery, that's the word, buffoonery. You know, but our folks love to see Mundia, you know, Tyler Perry, and, what's the boy's name, Raps Mogul, whatever, all these rap moguls. You know, I don't have no problem with you rapping. I don't have no problem with you making money, but some of the things you say first, you degrade our women, you degrade our family life, you do that to us, ourselves.
We go a little deeper.
We about the cameras.
Okay.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Every week, we're gonna do this here at the Hesperia Library, at 2:30, 3 o'clock is the actual production time. Be on time if you would like to participate. And Real Talk, we would like to have you. And thank you for tuning in.